And I think this is something that so many people are scared of, is keeping carbs out of their diet because they think it's going to, make them put on weight or make them feel sluggish, and that's not the case.
Welcome back to another episode of Self-Dom Beautiful Humans, a safe place to learn and get inspired to live your healthiest and most fulfilling life. I am Dom, your host, and I feel so grateful to be living my passion by getting to interview inspiring and knowledgeable guests. On today's episode, we have Victoria from Sana Wellness, my naturopath, who I have been working with for over a year now. I feel so grateful for you, Vic, because since we've been working together, I've gotten my period back, and we've been working really hard to get my biomarkers to an optimum level. Working with a naturopath has really opened my eyes on what health really looks like. The internet can be a really scary place with so many triggering posts, but with Vic, I have a protocol that matches my unique goals, and I am forever grateful for her. So on today's episode, we'll be diving into fertility, getting your period back, managing PMS, supplements, and so much more. We will also be answering the questions from the community. So make sure you are in the broadcast channel on my personal account, Dominica Lisa, because that is where I do the question box. And we got such goodies. So I'm really excited to dive into them. So without further ado, welcome back to Self-Dom.
Thank you for having me back. I'm excited.
We've only ever had my PT back. You're the second guest that's come back.
I feel special now.
Yeah, well, your episode did so incredibly well, which shows me how invested the community is in bettering themselves and learning about our bodies. I think we're not taught it enough.
No, and there is so much information out there. It's hard to know what is going to be right for you and what is the right information. So I feel like where people can, getting their information for them specifically is going to help them immensely with any symptom that they're going through, but also for the future as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So on our first episode we did, which if you haven't listened to it, go and listen to it. It's amazing. But you don't need to listen to that to listen to this. You can listen to it after. This episode, we're going to be diving a little bit more into fertility, which is super excited.
It is.
But I also want to say that you're never too young to start thinking about it, because what you do now will directly impact your fertility in the future. And I'm realizing this from being on the pill for over a decade, mistreating my body, substance abuse, disordered eating, anxiety. This has all led to seeing some results of my biomarkers that I was very surprised of, because I think I'm the healthiest person. I am literally doing everything right. However, if you're going through stress, neglected your body in the past, it will show up now.
Yes, yeah.
You know what I mean?
If you don't address it sooner rather than later, then it can take more work and a longer period to actually get back to optimal. So in a lot of ways, it is good to work on those symptoms while they're mild. That's actually the best time to address them, because if you leave them until they are affecting your day-to-day life, then that's where more intervention is required. It may take longer. And if that's where, so for instance, your fertility journey is wanting to start, then it could impact that. It could be a longer journey. It could be a bit of a struggle. There could be issues during pregnancy. So you want to make sure that is, if that is your goal, is as seamless as possible. So wherever you get any form of symptom, working on it when it's mild, because it's so much easier and it won't impact your day-to-day life.
Absolutely. So I want to start with talking about periods.
Yeah.
I was listening to a podcast and they're always talking about, it's your fifth vital sign.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And your doctors should be talking to you about it when you go in and they want to check in on you. So one of the things we've been talking about with the fertility journey is my cycle is nearly 40 days.
Yeah.
And I want you to dive into what this might mean and why it's so important to have a cycle. I think you said under 35.
Yeah. So ideally we want it between roughly 25, 26 days and 35 days. That is an average cycle, and that shows that your body is healthy. And yes, you might have a couple of days variation every month. That's okay. It's not, going to be 28 days on the dot every single month. But having a longer cycle can show that there are certain hormones, especially ones that are to do with ovulation, that may be suppressed, that are affecting your ovaries and then also affecting the lining of your uterus, which is what is shed each period. So for instance, with you, we've been working on improving your hormones post-pill, because when you're on the pill, it basically puts it down to baseline. Your hormones are at zero, so things like progesterone, estrogen, because it doesn't want you to ovulate. When you come off the pill, it may take a few months to actually bring it back up
even
to
a few
normal
years.
Yeah, even it can. For everyone, it's different. For your body to start creating those hormones naturally again. But what we were seeing with you in your bloods is that your progesterone, which is what helps to release the egg during ovulation, was still quite low. So that is going to make the length of your cycle longer and can impact on ovulation. So yes, you may have a bleed, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you're ovulating and releasing an egg every month. So we really need to optimize that, especially with your goal of fertility.
Yeah. So how can we improve that cycle? Like what food, what nutrition, cover all the pillars of health for us.
So first of all, get your bloods done, because you want to know what is actually causing your periods to be long. Interestingly, your thyroid can actually affect the length of your periods as well. So if you have an underactive thyroid, so a high TSH, so it's actually the opposite of what you'd think, that can affect your periods and potentially make them longer. And it also affects your metabolism and slows it down. So that's really important to check. But then also obviously your hormone markers, your iron levels as well, and your liver markers, to see what could potentially be causing your cycles to be longer or irregular or heavy. But then coming into nutrition, we want to make sure we're having a well-balanced diet. And everyone talks about this well-balanced diet, but what is that specifically for you? Every single person is going to be different because they have different needs in terms of how their body is made up of, but also how physically active they are, their stress, what they do for work. It's so different. So we really want to make sure that we are having a good amount of protein. So there's this real hype for fixation at the moment in the media about having high protein diets. And yes, it's great that we're, prioritizing protein, but for some people, high protein can be too much and it can actually cause like digestive issues and stuff, but that's a whole nother issue. We want to make sure we're getting roughly 30 grams of protein evenly spaced throughout our 3 meals throughout the day. So
it's not that easy. I'm cutting in here because it's actually not as easy as people think.
Yes.
And like even this morning, I made sure I had 3 eggs instead of 2, which still isn't enough.
Yeah, because 1 egg is about 7 grams of protein.
That's what I mean though.
Yeah.
3 eggs felt like so much.
Yeah.
But then of course, if you're adding like a piece of toast, avo, sauerkraut, there's little bits and bobs. But hitting the 30 grams is not easy.
No. And you can have it throughout the day. If you evenly space it throughout the day, it's going to help with your blood sugar regulation, which is going to help with your hormone production and ovulation as well. But looking at the palm of your hand, that is, or 1.5 palms of your hands is roughly.
Because that is 3 eggs.
Yeah. But for animal protein. That's going to be richer in your protein. So if you're having more animal protein throughout the day, it's going to be easier to hit those goals. Whereas plant-based forms of protein, you're going to have a lot more of it to get to that 30 grams, roughly 30 to 40 grams per meal. And like I said, spacing it out throughout the day to help with your blood sugar regulations, because that is going to affect your insulin and blood glucose, which has a direct effect on your hormones. But then also carbohydrates. And I think this is something that so many people are scared of, is keeping carbs out of their diet because they think it's going to, make them put on weight or make them feel sluggish. And that's not the case. Our bodies need carbohydrates to help signal our brain, to signal our ovaries to release certain hormones so that we can ovulate. So this is important, not just for our fertility journey, but for absolutely every female. We need to make sure that we're ovulating, because that's a sign of a healthy cycle and that your body internally is actually doing what it's supposed to do. When we're not having enough carbs, then that's going to affect obviously your hormones, but then it can also impact on things like melatonin and serotonin. So you might have really low moods, you might struggle to sleep, and even things like cortisol creation can be impacted because of that. So it's really important that we get enough carbs in the day. I usually say each meal roughly a handful, like a cupped handful. And prioritizing that around your workouts if you do a workout. So just to support recovery and also fueling your workout, but then also at night having carbs. So I think there used to be this rule where no carbs after 6, and that is terrible because carbs can actually help you to sleep. Like I mentioned, it can help with melatonin production. So for some people, if they're waking between 2 and 4 a.m., that can be a sign that your blood sugar has dropped, and that may mean that you need to adjust what you're eating and having maybe a bit more carbs at night just before you go to bed, just to help support stable blood sugar. And obviously that blood sugar is going to affect your hormone production as well. And then the other thing we found with you when we really were trying to nut out what was happening in terms of your progesterone and testosterone and estrogen not being as high as we wanted them to, given that we've really been working hard on this protocol, was the amount of fats you were having. And you were having a really good amount of fats, but when we broke it down into the types of fats that you were having, there wasn't enough cholesterol. And we need cholesterol because that is actually the building blocks of our hormones like testosterone, estrogen, progesterone, and also things like vitamin D and bile. And so they are really, really important. And that was reflected through your cholesterol panel as well, and even in your liver panel, that they were low, and showing that your body was struggling to create those hormones. So that is why you're potentially having those longer cycles as well.
Yes, it's so interesting. I didn't actually tell you this. I never used to eat bacon. And now Tom and I are eating bacon, but in the oven. Yeah. Is that a good way to get cholesterol?
Yeah. So that's another thing is with red meat, trying to avoid charring it, which I know like with barbecues and stuff, it's quite delicious, especially coming into summer.
Yeah.
But burning your meats, it can cause like increased reactive oxidative species. So basically they can just be pro-inflammatory in your body. So you're doing all this other work to help reduce inflammation, which is going to in turn help your hormones. I know, I do too. But just where you can, trying to avoid burning and like over charring your food, just because it can start to trigger those like pro-inflammatory enzymes in your body.
Well, I always looked at bacon as like a bad food, really fatty.
Yeah.
What's your view on it?
I personally don't like pork. I don't like the taste of it. I never really have. But in saying that, like it's not necessarily a bad thing. If you're getting like the nitrate free, because nitrate can just be
we're getting like the best quality from the Health Emporium.
I could imagine.
Yeah.
But in small doses, it's fine. Like, you know, if you're having it every single day, then
that's a bit crazy.
Yeah, that's probably not ideal. But in moderation, it's okay. And again, the cooking process is going to affect it. So if you're charring it, then obviously
we love it in the oven.
Yeah, that's
Tom's been doing it for me because he knows that I need to increase my cholesterol and like for the fertility thing. So he's been putting the bacon in the oven for 7 minutes. Then he cracks the eggs on there and then puts it back in the oven, but the oven's off for 5 minutes. And it's like the best thing ever.
Wow.
Every now and then, like I never ate bacon. I was the same. I didn't like the taste of pork.
Yeah.
And now I'm like,
Yeah. I know. I think, if that is something that will help you to consume a bit more cholesterol. So cholesterol-rich foods are things like egg yolks.
I've been having so many eggs. Every day you'll be so proud of me.
Good.
I keep going an egg for an egg.
Yes, exactly. And there's lots of choline in it as well, and omega-3s, but also not your fatty red meat, but red meat and not getting the leanest cuts all the time.
Well, it's cheaper as well.
Yeah, and then dairy as well can have some. I know.
Okay, so today I went and I'm trying to find lactose-free yogurt.
Yeah.
I'm so scared.
I know.
Because I haven't had it in over a decade.
Yeah.
But the other day, accidentally, they gave me some Parmesan. I had a tiny bit and then freaked out.
Yeah.
But I was like, I do like the taste of it. I thought I wouldn't like the taste after a decade of not eating it. So I do want to try it again. Today I was literally staring at this lactose-free yogurt. Do I buy it? And then I read the ingredients. It's like the first ingredient is milk. And I'm like, That scares me.
I know. And just trialing it. So if you know you're going to be at home for the rest of the day.
Not when you have an event. Not when you have 2 podcasts and an event.
No. But potentially if you want to reintroduce dairy, and I think, again, there was this stigma around having dairy in your diet. And for some people, it's, you know, you're lactose intolerant or it can trigger your acne. But for other people, it's just been this thing that they've removed because, you know, 10 years ago, it was what everyone was doing and it was what's supposed to be healthy. But it can be really beneficial for us if we can tolerate it. So having it in good amounts and good quality dairy can be really good. And even things like goat's variety of dairy is great for helping with iron absorption. So that is something where when I have clients that have issues with iron and they're okay tolerating dairy, then I definitely recommend having either goat's milk or goat's yogurt, even some goat's cheese, but because it has a lower amount of lactose, but it helps with other things as well, like your iron.
Yeah. Where do you sit with raw milk? Because it's big in the US. Like they sell it at Air One.
Yes.
But then I was listening to this guy and he was saying it's ridiculous. There's a reason that we do this. The rates of people getting sick from raw milk in America is like skyrocketing.
Yeah.
Because of all like the germs that happen on cattle farms. Where do you sit?
It's hard because we don't really have access to it in Australia, so it's not like I've really ever been able to have it, to trial it or do enough research into it because it's not something that we can just readily get. But yes, there are a lot less instances of like food poisoning and getting sick when it is pasteurized. In saying that though, I do know of like people that grew up on farms. Like my brother-in-law, he is from Serbia and he grew up on a farm and he used to just drink the milk. It used to be goats. He used to just drink it and he was fine. Like loves it.
Take his espresso outside, squeeze a bit of milk in there.
That's right. So I think it depends on where you're getting it from, but always be mindful that, you know, there is a risk to it. So I guess if you know there is that risk and you're willing to like forego that if that happens, but there are some really good benefits to it as well. So it's an individual preference, I guess. In Australia, I think it's harder for us to access it. So it's hard for us to, you know, be able to trial it anyway.
In a safe way as well.
Yes, exactly right.
Unless you know the farmer.
Yes.
You have no idea.
Yes. And I'm sure there's lots of people that live on farms or have access to cows and they probably do have the raw milk and they're completely fine. But it's just being able to find them as well.
I want to chat more about carbohydrates because I absolutely agree that carbohydrates have been demonized.
Yeah.
And I've been guilty of it. And even yesterday, the VS show was on and I was with my assistant, Em. And I was like, oh my God, the VS show, it's like triggering something in me. And then I was like, no, I want a baby.
Yeah.
I've got to eat the carbs.
Yeah.
But it's for some reason we associate not eating carbs and looking super lean, but then bodybuilders, they eat carbohydrates.
Yeah.
And they're probably the leanest people if you think about it.
Yeah.
Like their muscle ratio. So I'm trying to take away this stigma. And I also loved in the protocol, you're like, just add a little bit every week.
Yeah.
The one thing that I remember at school was the food pyramid though.
Yeah.
And there was carbohydrates at the bottom and it said eat the most bread, cereal, pasta.
Yeah.
What are your views on this? Because I don't think that's right. I think how you've said have a palm size in each meal.
Yeah.
Not the majority of your plate, right?
Yeah, I think that is outdated now. But it hasn't been updated, which is frustrating.
Make the new food pyramid? What would you put at the bottom?
I don't think I would do it as a pyramid. I think it would be
a square.
Potentially a square.
Circle.
It would be different. So definitely having lots of plants in your diet is going to be key. In saying that though, I don't think every health food, plant or vegetable is going to be beneficial for absolutely everyone. So everyone's so individual depending on what your gut microbiome is, depending on what any other underlying health issues you have. So it can be really hard to gauge exactly what's going to be beneficial for the general population just because everyone has something. There's something that everyone has, like either an underlying nutrient deficiency, what their lifestyle is like in terms of their exercise, their stress, their jobs. But it's really important. So having enough of each of the macronutrients. So protein, carbs, and fats. And like I said, having roughly 3 to 4 palms of protein throughout the day, evenly spaced. Same with carbs, 3 to 4 cupped, heaped handfuls. And then in terms of fats, we need roughly 4, depending on your size as well, and males and females will obviously be very different. This is mainly for females. For thumbs of fat, roughly 3 to 5, and that will depend on your size as well. So we
3
want
to 5
thumbs of fat. Yeah,
that's the one that I struggle with.
Yeah, I think most females do.
No, but I eat more.
Yes, and that's what
Like
I
way
mean.
more.
I think most females, especially if they're into health, tend to eat more fats.
I love fats.
Yeah.
Like I'm eating a spoonful of peanut butter. I'm eating a whole avocado a day. I'm drizzling olive oil over everything.
Yeah, but they're not purely fat. So things like peanut butter will have a little bit of protein in it as well. Avocado actually has a decent amount of carbs because it has fiber in it as well. So when you think of fats, that is pure fat. So olive oil, that is a pure fat. Butter, that's a pure fat.
Okay.
So a lot of these other foods, they're not just a pure one macronutrient. Meat, that has a lot of, red meat has a lot of protein, but it also does, depending on the cut that you're eating, have some fats as well. Things like chicken breasts, it's pretty much just protein. If you have the skin, it might have a bit more fat, and depending on how you cook it as well, it might introduce some fats in there, but generally it's a very lean cut of meat, same with like turkey breast. So yeah, like I said, it's hard to give a generic for everyone, but for the average person who's exercising a few times a week, they're into their health, they should be having an even amount of all of the macronutrients throughout the day and evenly spaced. Don't just try and consume it all in 1 to 2 meals because your body and especially your digestive system will not be happy. But also it doesn't work well with your blood sugar, and that will affect your hormones and your energy levels and your cognition as well. So it's really important to try and space it out. And even eating within an hour of waking, and I know a lot of people do struggle with this because they get up super early to go to that gym class or do their run, and then they come home and then they rush to get ready for work, go to work, and then they're not eating until 10, 11 o'clock. That can do so much to your stress and your cortisol, and like I said, it has a massive impact on your hormones, your energy level. So you're getting these slump throughout the day, but also how are you concentrating? How are you focusing in your meeting or doing your work or whatever you're doing throughout the day? Even if you're not working, even if you're running around looking after kids, how are you keeping that energy maintained throughout the day? I feel for so many people because they get to the end of the day, they've been stressed out of their brain from whatever they're doing, then they're not eating properly to fuel their body, and then they get to the end of the day on the couch, they're like, I can't even move. And it's like, if you just readjusted how you're eating and when you're eating, it can make such a big difference to how you feel.
Yeah, I hope that inspires you girls to have breakfast. Don't be scared.
And don't drink coffee or matcha on an empty stomach. Yeah. Don't. Just try and have something before, even if you can just have, like sometimes I know I'm rushing, I'm trying to get my girls ready, I've got things to do. What I'll do is I have kefir at home and I'll just have a shot of that and maybe some collagen or something like that. If I'm making a matcha at home, I'll have some of that and then eat if I have to, if I'm rushed. So just having something, if you're going to have a coffee or a matcha, try and add something with it as well, just to affect that spike and minimize any stress on your body.
Yeah, I definitely notice the days when I just have matcha instead.
Yes, yeah.
I've even noticed just having half a banana with peanut butter.
Yeah.
Even 3 Brazil nuts.
Yes.
I don't know what it is. My 3 Brazil nuts saves me so often. I want to dive into fruit because is fruit a carb?
Fruit is a carb, depending on what type of fruit you're having. Some are higher in carbs than others.
Well, that's why women can be scared of fruit.
Yes.
And they just eat berries.
No.
And then I'm like, every time I go to the supermarket now, I'm trying to find a fruit that I haven't tried or haven't had in a while.
Yes.
So today I got gold kiwi fruits. And I was like, that was really yummy.
And interestingly, kiwi fruits, if you have them just before bed, they can help you sleep.
Really?
Yes. Yeah. So try and have one after dinner if you're going to
they're like a superfood.
Yeah.
I feel like they're really having their moment.
And also if you struggle with constipation, having it around bedtime as well, it'll help.
Well, the girls, we'd be having kiwi fruit.
Yeah. So 1 to 2 kiwi fruits a day, but even especially around bedtime can really help with both sleep and bowel movements. So just a note there.
So when you say you have to have a palmful of carbs in the morning, could that be fruit?
Yes, definitely.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah. So fruit is a carb. It also has other nutrients associated with. So lots of fiber, lots of vitamins as well. So you're not just getting a carb. It's not like you're just having a teaspoon of sugar and that's it. You've got all of those other benefits with it. And with fiber, it helps to minimize that spike in glucose or blood sugar and just helps to balance it out. Fiber helps you to keep you full for longer, and it also helps feed your gut microbiome. So it's really important that we actually get that in, because a lot of people, by cutting out carbs, they're cutting out fiber, and that's a lot of the time why they're getting, really bad bloating, they're constipated, they're getting gas, all those things that are not ideal, but a lot of people would probably be struggling with.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's chat about bloating.
Yeah.
Because there's a level of bloating that is normal.
Yes.
Everyone feels great in the morning. In the afternoon, you don't feel that great. That's normal. When does bloating become a symptom of something that we should be worried about?
Yeah. So if you consume like a big meal or a high fiber meal, you might feel a little bit of abdominal distension or just a little bit of bloating for a couple of hours, but that should naturally go and it shouldn't be very uncomfortable. When it becomes abnormal is when you're getting extreme bloating, where you can look in the mirror and you can feel like, you look pregnant almost, or you have to undo a button of your pants. It causes a lot of abdominal pain or discomfort. You might get some reflux, heartburn, gas, things like that, or even things like constipation or even diarrhea. So that's a sign that it's not normal, and something needs to be addressed. And whether that be looking into what you're eating and seeing if it's a specific food that may be intolerant in your body or maybe exacerbating gas in your body. But one thing that is really, really common, and I see it in almost every single client I work with, is low stomach acid. So we need stomach acid to help break down nutrients from our food and absorb the nutrients. When we don't have enough stomach acid, and that can be because of stress, that can be because of hormonal changes, medications, even things like trauma, they can all impact your stomach acid, and even having a restrictive diet or being vegetarian or vegan, because your demands for stomach acid reduce. What actually happens then if you have low stomach acid is that food sits in your stomach for longer and it will start to ferment, and that fermentation causes that gas, which then will cause bloating. But then as a result of that, your body isn't able to properly break down those nutrients from your food or even supplements or medications and absorb it properly. So that's going to lead to nutrient deficiencies as well as the bloating. So really, really important to get on top of whatever the root cause of your bloating is sooner rather than later, because it will lead to nutrient deficiencies, which can then impact hormone creation, energy levels. You might get low iron, low B vitamins. It'll affect absorption of even things like fat. So you might find that you struggle to digest a high fat meal, and people will be like, I can't eat fatty foods because my body doesn't like it. And that's usually, again, a sign that your body is struggling to create the digestive enzymes and stomach acid to help. So then, like I said, you're gonna experience more bloating, and also noting where that bloating is coming from. Is it upper abdomen or lower abdomen? Because that can also show if that's stomach, small intestine, which might be either low stomach acid, SIBO, or even gastritis, so inflammation of the stomach, or if it's lower bowel, then it could be, again, a different form of bacterial overgrowth, or SIBO, or bacterial overgrowth. So it really needs to be addressed.
And what about the different phases of our cycle and bloating? When do we tend to experience the most bloating?
So some women will experience bloating during their cycle, so during their period, and that can be because of changes in things like your histamines, or even things like estrogen and progesterone increasing. So really making sure that your body is able to, and your liver function is able to properly process all the hormones, because that will help with digestive enzymes to reduce that bloating. But then some people will also notice more bloating around ovulation. And again, that can be a sign of bacterial imbalances. So when we have certain opportunistic bacteria in our gut growing, then that can reabsorb estrogen. So instead of it being eliminated through the bowel like it should, and it naturally will, then it can be reabsorbed. And that will also affect constipation levels as well. So some people find at certain types of their cycle, they are either more constipated or even have diarrhea, and that can again indicate the different things happening in your body, whether that be estrogen dominance or even things like histamines, which can affect your bowel movements.
Okay, because I'm the ovulation phase bloating girl.
Yeah,
I feel my worst when I'm ovulating.
Yeah, and that can be because of certain hormones naturally increasing, and they require a little bit more water just to with their chemical reaction. Same with cortisol will slightly peak around then and again during your period as well. And with that it'll hold on to water. So you might find you're a bit more fluidy during those times. But trying to manage it through having lots of magnesium, lots of electrolytes and hydrating. And then even things like lymphatic drainage. So like dry brushing, gua sha, sauna, legs up on the wall, they will all help to just move that stagnant lymph fluid and get it all released.
Yeah, I love that. I love putting my legs up the wall.
Yeah, me too.
It's so good.
You can physically feel it draining. On some days I'm like, oh my God, I need this. And I can feel my legs just.
It's the best.
Yeah.
But that's what I love about the protocols you create, because they always have not just nutrition, but a whole variety of stuff. And that's why I also gave you the journal, because you always put gratitude in your protocols. So it's such an important thing. I've noticed even just having a few breaths before I eat.
Yes.
Or
huge.
not watching a show. Oh my God, when you don't watch a show, you're full after half the amount.
And that goes back to bloating as well. When a lot of people are bloated, I think they're eating in a really rushed state.
They're eating air.
Yes. So, you're eating on the go, you're eating while you're driving a car, you're eating at your desk, or you're watching TV or scrolling your phone. You're not allowing your body to switch into that rest and digest or parasympathetic nervous system, which is where, your digestive system is at its peak to help release digestive enzymes, break down your food. Peristalsis or movement of food through your gut is at its best. So if you're eating in that fight or flight or sympathetic nervous system, then your body's not prioritizing releasing digestive enzymes or, breaking down your food, which is why a lot of the time you will get bloating. And also you're not chewing your food most of the time. You want to aim between 20 to 30 chews per mouthful, which I know sounds like a lot, but that is the start of digestion. Chemical digestion is where you start chewing your food. It allows digestive enzymes in your saliva to mix through, and then when you swallow it and go into your stomach, then it can continue to break it down. When we're not chewing enough, then your stomach has to work harder. And like I said, most people don't have enough stomach acid, so then your stomach is having to work 10 times as hard, which means that you're going to probably feel a lot more fatigued after you eat, or you'll get those energy slumps an hour after eating. So it's really, really important that we do prioritize, chewing, being in a mindful state when you eat as well.
Yeah. Sometimes I'm in my kitchen and I hear your voice, because I'm like, I am rushing right now.
Yeah.
Either I don't eat because I'm in a rush state, or I eat in a rush state and I'm like, it's probably better to just eat in the rush state than not eat at all, because then I feel like my blood sugar will go crazy.
Yeah.
But when you can be relaxed.
That's right. And I'm not trying to say there are so many people that, they're like, I'm stuck at my desk, or, they have these really long shifts and they can't really get away from, they don't have time to eat or eat in a really relaxed state. So I get it. But where you can, get off your phone, stop watching the TV, stop scrolling, just be present, because it will do wonders. And so many times when I'm working with a client and they're experiencing bloating, that's the first thing they change before they've even ordered their supplements or changed their diet. And they're like, wow, I've actually noticed a significant difference in my bloating, but also I get full, like you said, so much quicker.
Quick.
Yeah.
It's wild.
Yeah,
but now I have to eat all this protein. I'm like, I better put a show on, because otherwise I'm going to be full. I want to go back into fertility, because we kind of dived away from it.
Yeah.
What does prepping for fertility look like?
So this is really important to start working on, not just when you're about to start trying, but you've got to take it back a little bit. For different people, they might have underlying conditions that they need to address, whether that be nutrient deficiencies, so things like B vitamin deficiencies, iron deficiency, even your thyroid hormones if they're not working optimally, and vitamin D. So we need to get our body into a state of optimal health before you start trying to conceive. because this is going to help with the creation of your eggs. So everyone's eggs develop at roughly 90 to 100 days. So whatever you're doing right now is going to impact your fertility journey in like 3 to 4 months.
I know, I was thinking about that because every morning I have my eggs and I'm feeling on top of it, and I've prepped my quinoa and my bone broth, and I'm like, it's only going to affect me in 90 days.
Yeah.
This good behavior.
That still is going to impact your overall health.
Oh, absolutely. I feel really great.
Yes, yeah. But also not just looking at the female, looking at the male as well. So sperm is roughly a 70-day life cycle as well. So making sure that the male is also doing something. Because I think a lot of the time, women will be like, yep, we're going to start trying in a few months. I'm going to go on this health detox and really prioritize my health. But then the male's not doing anything. And their sperm quality counts just as much and is impacted by their diet, by their lifestyle, just as much as a female. So
okay, put that on a t-shirt. Yes. I feel like every woman feels this guilt and pressure to be this perfect specimen when they're going to conceive. But the man is just as important. Tom actually, he doesn't drink in Sydney anyway, but I remember when we first started dating, he's like, for 3 months before we start trying, I don't want to drink alcohol.
Yeah.
So he was super aware of it. But I just hear it through my girlfriends and stuff. And I'm like, your partner is out on a bender.
Yeah.
So maybe he should go check his sperm.
Yeah. And not to say that it will, but you just want to give yourself the best chance of falling pregnant, staying pregnant, having a healthy pregnancy, and for you to feel good throughout your pregnancy.
But you know what also is funny? Sometimes it's the two people who are out on a bender who just have a really great birth, and then it's the girls who are like, my body is a temple. I haven't drank any alcohol, and they're struggling.
Because stress.
You got to be relaxed.
Stress is a huge impact, and it can affect. So if we have high cortisol levels, and you can see this through your bloods through different markers. It can really affect the creation of your hormones as well, and even like your ovaries releasing your eggs and having a good healthy ovary. So whatever you're doing right now, even if you're not planning on falling pregnant for a few months, even 6 to 12 months, it is going to help. So setting yourself up for the best, almost like an insurance policy. So making sure that all of your health markers and your blood markers are in an optimal range now, because that is going to make sure that your body is primed for fertility. Because if your body is stressed, if you're under eating, over exercising, stressed out of your brain from exercise or work, whatever it may be, then your body might think that it's not in the best, phase of life to actually fall pregnant and hold a healthy baby. So then people may struggle with that as well. So that's not to say that, if you're stressed out of your brain 24/7 that you're not going to fall pregnant. It just means that where you can, reduce that stress. So stop doing the HIIT training 7 days a week. Stop going for really long runs every single day, because that's just putting extra stress in your body. Your body doesn't need that. Making sure you're getting a really well-balanced meal. So not under eating, because why do you need to do that, especially if you know you're going to be falling pregnant? That's not the goal that you're trying to achieve right now. It's trying to prime your body so that you're actually fueling it and fueling all of the different systems in your body to actually grow a baby.
Yeah. I was pretty vocal on my platform that when I did the half marathon, my period didn't come for a few months.
Exactly.
So it was directly impacted from the high stress. I think there's a balance. Sometimes you're working towards a goal.
Yeah.
But you need to know what your priorities are. And my priorities now is getting my body ready to have a child. And so I've really cut down on the training.
Yeah. And that's not to say you can't exercise.
No. I still exercise and move my body every day.
Yeah.
But on the days that I can't, I don't rush to a class to fit it in.
Yeah.
I'm really happy to just sit in the sauna.
Yeah.
Go for a walk and do gentle movement.
Yeah.
But I also know weight training is really great for hormones.
Yes. And also it can help prep your body for pregnancy, because when you fall pregnant, obviously your body starts to change. Things like your hips, they start to move out and open. Your pelvis starts to open as your body grows bigger. And then your postural muscles as well will change. So even doing weight training way before you're planning on having a baby, if that is your goal, can really help set yourself up to feel less pain throughout pregnancy, but support your belly growing. So that will help with your posture, that will help with your core, that will help with your glutes, everything.
I have to say, since I've started increasing my carbs and my protein, I feel a lot stronger at the gym.
Yeah.
And you actually feel the gains because you're eating enough, you know?
Yeah. And don't be scared don't think that weight training is going to make you super bulky.
No.
That's really, really hard to do. And it actually, a lot of the time, can help lean you out. So you'll have more muscle than fat, which helps your metabolic rate increase just at a resting rate. So if you're just sitting here on the lounge, your body is burning more at rest than it would if you didn't have as much muscle. So that can be really good as well. That's just, it helps with a lot of other things as well. Your energy, your sleep, your hormones, like you said, and helping your body if you're going through a fertility journey, with that as well.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to end this first half of our episode. I love chatting to you. I could literally chat to you for hours.
I know, and I could chat all day. So.
I know. It's the best.
You need to rein me in.
It's the best. Maybe just give a shout out of where the girls can find you.
Yeah. So on Instagram, I'm sana__wellness. Otherwise, you can email me at victoria@sanawellness.com.au.
And now you guys are going to have to wait till Thursday, but we've got our Thursday episode, which is going to be your questions. I'm so excited.
Me too.
So we'll see you there.